So are you enjoying your externship? Good. You have a good mentor.
Yes, he knows everything.
Wow. I don't know if he knows everything, but he damn sure knows a lot.
Almost everything.
Don't say I know everything, please. Too much pressure on me.
He's been doing it a long time.
You guys all ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
That was forceful.
Good afternoon. To call to order the Planning Commission meeting of February 22nd, 2024. Before we get started, just take a moment here because I'm pretty sure most of you have cell phones out there. Just take a moment, just check your cell phone, make sure cell phones, pagers, all those kind of electronic devices are off or in the silent position. Let's go ahead and start the meeting. Please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Jamie Girardi?
Here.
Mr. Derek Pontlett?
Here.
Mr. John Moody?
Here.
Mr. Christopher Poole?
Here.
Mr. Richard Tonello?
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray?
Okay, the Planning Commission is appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. We meet twice a month. The Planning Commission serves as the local planning agency. We hold public hearings and transmit to the Board of County Commissioners recommendations on comprehensive plan amendments, land development code amendments, rezonings, and conditional use requests. The Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. If anyone is in opposition to any comprehensive plan amendment, land development code amendment, rezoning, conditional use, or any item where the Planning Commission transmits a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it is important that you attend the appropriate Board of County Commissioners meeting. And if you have any questions, you can see staff after the meeting and they can give you those dates. I think we have one set of meeting minutes to approve. Oh, I'm sorry, proof of publication, please.
The items are advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on February 7th, 2024, or by affidavit of certified mailing and site.
Thank you. All right, meeting minutes.
So I'd move approval of the meeting minutes with one small amendment to language on page 16 of 25. It says, Vice Chairman Girardi called on the motion. The vote was unanimous, and the motion carried with Mr. Hansel voting nay. I think the unanimous thing is kind of misleading. It should just say the motion carried with Mr. Hansel voting nay. But other than that, I would move approval with.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, before we get started on the agenda, we're going to take a minute here at the beginning to take public comment for any items that are not on the agenda, from any in-person participants or any WebEx participants who have pre-registered or are currently on queue. Is there anybody here to speak to anything that's not on the agenda? Okay.
And Mr. Chair, for the record, I have no one signed up to speak on public comment or through any other, for any other agenda item on WebEx.
Okay. Very good. So we'll move on to the public hearing procedure, or public hearing process. In-person participants and participants attending through WebEx, including the applicants who have pre-registered for the Planning Commission meeting, will be notified by county staff when they're permitted to speak. Applicants are limited to 5 minutes, and participants are limited to 3 minutes unless any additional time is approved at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. And I don't think there's anybody.
No request for additional time.
Okay. When you come up to to speak, we do ask, whether you're in person or on WebEx, please state your name, address, the agenda item number, and the title or the agenda item title of what you're here to speak with, and then either the 3 or 5 minute timer will start. Before we get started, can we go ahead and have everybody that plans to give anybody that plans to speak, just please stand so you can be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Okay. And for those of you that haven't been here before, our public hearing agenda is broken up into 3 different sections. There's the consent agenda items that'll be first, then there are any continuance items, and then we'll proceed to the regular items portion of the agenda. Today we have 6 public hearing items on the consent agenda. 3 of them are continuance and 3 are consent. And we also have 2 regular items. These items will be approved by regular vote unless the item is pulled from consent. Once the motion is made on the consent agenda, the chair will call for a second, and the motion will be voted on. All right, so Denise, you want to start with the continuance?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Planning Commission members. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. The first item is PC2, which is PEG 247740. It's a zoning amendment, the residences at Rolling Hills MPUD Master Plan Unit Development, Dan Nico Properties LLC. The request is to continue the item to the March 21st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 PM in Newport Richey.
Okay, is the applicant present? Anybody here to speak on this item? Okay, so I think we'll go on to the next one.
Item PC3 is PEG 24CU13, a conditional use in the name of Word of Life Fellowship, Word of Life GLA. The request is to continue the item to the March 21st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay, is the applicant present? Anybody else here to speak? Okay,
On this next item, you're sitting as the local planning agency. Item PC4 is PEG 240179. It's a comprehensive plan amendment, CPAS 2324 Diagonal Road Business Park. The request is to continue the item to the March 21st, 2024 Planning Commission LPA meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
okay, is the applicant present? Anyone else here to speak? Okay, I think that's all the items on the consent agenda.
Move to
Continue.
continue
I
items.
mean, I'm sorry, continuance items, sorry.
Move to continue items PC2, PC3, and PC4 to the March 21st Planning Commission meeting and LPA meeting in Newport Richey.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The following item is item PC5, which is PEG 247770. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Brenna M. Hicks. It's a change in zoning from an RMH Mobile Home District to a PO1 Professional Office District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anybody else here to speak? Okay,
Following item is PC6. On this item, you're sitting as the LPA. So the item is PEG 240171. It's a development agreement. The name of Creela Estates LLC, Creela Estates. It's for the construction of a multi-use path and for the award of mobility fee credits for the design, permitting, and construction of the off-site portion of the multi-use path, and for the difference between the cost of the required 5-foot sidewalk on-site and the constructed multi-use path. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
okay, is the applicant present? Anybody here to speak on this item? Okay,
Following item is PC7, PEG 242106. It's for a variance. Shepherd parcel, nonconforming lot, Travis Shepherd. It's for a reduction in the required minimum lot area from 1 acre to .536 of an acre in an AR agricultural residential district. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet.
okay, is the applicant present? Anybody here to speak on this item? Anybody else? Okay,
And that concludes your consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of PC5, PC6, and PC7.
Second.
okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to the regular portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Economic Growth Department. This next item on the agenda is a zoning amendment for Beacon Woods East MPUD, which is a modification to the MPUD master plan and the conditions of approval accordingly. So the amendment is to rezone essentially, because it's a substantial modification to the MPUD, from an MPUD to an MPUD, essentially updating the conditions of approval associated with the Beacon Woods East MPUD. In order to set forth passive uses that may occur in specific golf course areas and to include conditions of approval to address the same. So this item was previously heard and recommended by the Planning Commission on recommended for approval to the BCC on October 19. And the project went to the December 5th Board of County Commissioners meeting. At that meeting, a number of concerns were raised associated with the silvicultural aspects of the MPUD, and the board recommended, or remanded rather, the project back to Planning Commission in order to handle the silvicultural aspects and to update the conditions of approval associated with that. Remanding it back to the Planning Commission. So here we are today, essentially updating the Planning Commission on what took place since the December 5th board meeting. As a brief overview, this is where it is in the county, northwest part of Pasco County. Here is an outline of the Beacon Woods development area where the MPUD is the zoning district. Here shows the zoning district itself with the subject property and the various zonings that have been incorporated in the area. In particular, what we are, can't see from here. My eyes are not as good as they used to be. This is the area in question for the Beacon Woods modification. Here's the future land use for the area. Again, I'm rolling through this because this has been previously presented. The 1,000-foot buffer around the subject area. And this is the master plan and the affected areas in terms of the golf course areas that we were referring to. So the conditions of approval, the COAs, they were revised to include specific uses in the golf course areas. Initially, it included walking trails, open play areas, tot lots, playgrounds, recreational courts. It included the ability to put an entrance road through the golf course area, including utilities, floodplain compensation areas, drainage. And then since the December 5th Board of County Commissioners meeting, which remanded the project back to the Planning Commission, additional conditions of approval were added for controlled plantings, gardens, trees, palms, or silviculture, so that if certain areas were dedicated to HOAs in the area, they could retain some of the growth that had taken place since the golf course was closed. So with that, we bring the project back to you with a recommendation for approval following the October recommendation of approval with the inclusion of the silvicultural conditions of approval.
Okay, anything up here for Terry?
I had a question. Who owns the property right now?
I believe the property is still owned by Mr. Lohman. The applicant's representative is here, so they could better speak to that.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Good afternoon, Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey. This is the gift that keeps on giving. I am back again. I think we have all the paperwork in order. To answer your question, Mr. Tonello, the property is owned by Lohman Links, the Lohman family. I don't represent the Lohman family. I represent the contract purchaser for a portion of the property, which is NVR Homes, Ryan Homes. So basically, as we went along this journey, there's multiple people involved other than just my client wanting to develop 218 lots on an R4 portion of the portion of property. There's property zoned R4 that my client's buying next to the golf course. My client's doing 218 homes there under R4, 60 by 100 lots. And as part of that development, they're purchasing a portion of the golf course and going to put floodplain, drainage, and neighborhood parks in there. Got all that, but what I didn't get was that there's other property, there's trees, there's HOAs, and so I've been working for a year or so to try to get everything else, the paperwork, written properly for all these other issues. But I think I've finally achieved with work with the county attorney's office, Mr. Goldstein, working with the estates that are represented here, homeowners association, working with the Lohman and their representatives, the property owners. I think we finally got the paperwork all in order. We had to remand, much to the disappointment of the estate homeowners association, because one of the things that we did in connection with my client buying a portion of the property in connection with their development of the R4 property was my client was able to bring all of the property, the golf course property, under their contract so that they could commit, if the HOAs want the respective property, that the property be conveyed to them, the other golf course property. Coming up with a solution, right? Because you got a defunct golf course, you've got these areas behind people's homes. And so we've worked with the estates, which are our actual neighbors. There's the estates that are our neighbors to our project. And then across Little Road, there's Fairway, the golf course went across the road, there's Fairway Oaks. Fairway Oaks have not worked with us. I had a question this week, they wanted environmental reports. Somebody from that organization wanted environmental reports. We had given those environmental reports a year ago. My client was actually asked by the HOA, or at least one of the HOAs, to do environmental reports on the golf course. This is outside of where they're purchasing and developing, so for the benefit of those HOAs, so that they could look at them and make sure there wasn't an issue with taking golf course property. So that work was done, the states reviewed it, the states went through all the procedures, and they have representatives here. They were disappointed at the board meeting because they were ready to be done with this so that they can have the property conveyed to them so they can start maintaining the property as an HOA that is behind a lot of people's homes. So with that, we have the conditions 35 through 38. The other thing that happened was we were requested to agree to remove trees in ponds outside of where my client's going to develop. So this is going well and beyond anything that I contemplated when I was representing what I represent as developers. But we added condition 38 that says if the HOA requests, if HOA is going to be conveyed to the property and the HOA requests that trees and ponds be removed, there's a process in 38 for that to occur. The estates were on record when we were here before and before the board that they don't want any trees removed. They've got it. They're set up. They are ready to take the property, and they know how to maintain it. So, but we did add the condition in here. If it is requested, my client will go beyond what they're developing and remove trees from ponds. So that's kind of what brings us back. I know the estates are satisfied with how the conditions are reading. I know that Mr. Lohman, the underlying property owner, is satisfied. My client's more than satisfied. County attorney, staff, we've really worked hard at this. So if we have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We're just looking forward to moving this forward so that my client can actually develop the property. And that's the facilitation of, it's through my client sticking in all this time on this contract that they're going to facilitate this property going to the HOAs if they want them. So that my client's the solution to this long, ongoing saga with a defunct golf course and what happens to it. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. Is there anybody here to speak to this item?
Mr. Chair, I have some folks signed up
Okay.
to speak on this item.
Perfect.
I've got Jack Brummett followed by Joe Sears, then Jeff Baumgardner, and Phil Roderick.
Okay, when you come up again, I guess if you're next in line, please try to come up to the front so we can keep this moving. And also, when you come up, please make sure you state your name and address, and then just acknowledge that you've been sworn, please.
My name is Jack Brummett. I live at 8542 Coral Creek Loop in Hudson, where I've resided for the last 25 years. I'm also the president of the Homeowners Association for the Estates and Reserve of Beacon Woods. This is the second time I've appeared before this group. You faces look familiar from last October. And I'm here to say that we offer more than lip service about our desire to receive the conveyance of this property. Since our last appearance before you, we have purchased a $17,000 commercial lawnmower. We have had 3 volunteer work days on the golf course. The first one we had 48 people volunteer. The second we had 30, and the third we had 30, about 30 people. At the conclusion of each of these work days, I had 2 questions. When can we do this again? And when are we going to own the property? Beginning in November, because of the delays in getting this property, we reached an agreement with Mr. Lohman to lease the 25 acres we're eventually going to receive from him for $1 a month. And our people are working vigorously to keep the fairways looking nice, and they do look beautiful. The only problem we have is we have too many people wanting to volunteer to work and to do this. I say all this to you to just let you know that we've got skin in this, and our people want this to happen. This resolves an issue that's been plaguing us for the last 4 years since the closure of the golf course, and we're ready to move on. And my encouragement to you is to vote approval for this amendment today.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
and thanks for coming out.
Mr. Joe Sears?
Thank you. My name is Joe Sears. I'm a property owner at 13915 Talmadge Loop in Hudson, which is in the reserve and the estates. We're lucky to have a guy like Jack Brummett as our president. I'm here to talk to you about conditions for approval rezoning petition 7742. This is proposed by NVR Incorporated Ryan Homes, and it's referred to as the enclave of Beacon Woods on county maps. I first appeared in front of you on October 19, 2023. During that meeting, I observed approval by Planning Commission members. It's very frustrating to appear before you again and again express my support for this project. Thank you again for what you do in preserving and improving the quality of life for all of us. I assure you that our HOA wants nothing more than that for the 480 homes in which we represent, and we appreciate your efforts. Our current home is 9th across 5 states, 2 of which are located in Pasco County. We are in support of this project moving forward and the road modification requested by NVR. The modification will architecturally complement the existing homes in the area, and we have worked very, very close with the current property owner, who has worked very, very close with us in working with Ryan Homes. So this has not been just a one and done type of project, and we've been working on this for up to 4 years, as Jack mentioned. We also believe this is the best option for easing congestion and optimizing traffic flow in this part of the county. More importantly, it is the best option for emergency response vehicles and personnel. As a community, we have seen change coming when sadly the golf course closed April 22nd, 2019. Unlike other golf course closure in the county, however, over 50,000 evergreen trees were planted on the property by the responsible owner in 2020. We took an active role in that, and this was followed up by an additional 500 trees planted by HOA residents in early 2021, including yours truly. Since 2020, our community has embraced the change from a golf course to a tree farm by spending hundreds, if not thousands, of sweat equity hours cleaning up the fairways. I want to add that we did this at no cost to Pasco County taxpayers. This was all on our dime. This was all using our trucks, our fuel, and our sweat equity, where we removed dog fennel and other weed plants. The result is both an aesthetics and neighborhood morale boost. As Jack mentioned, people are excited about doing something with this. I would dare say I'd stand up the estates and reserve to any other HOA in the county as far as where we are now with community pride and morale, and it really centers around this project. Our community has worked hard and the owner to maintain trees, which now 4 years later serve as a vehicle traffic sound and sight barrier to Hudson Avenue. I should add too that if you take a look at the property maps and you take a look at the property appraiser, you'd be amazed at how much more in taxes the county actually has benefited by homes. People want to buy these homes. I mean, they're along Hudson Avenue, but with those trees, the sound reduction is amazing, and the way it looks. We accepted this gift on January 21st last year. The property was enthusiastically approved by 87% of the residents. So, there's a lot of pluses there. In closing, we urge you to approve this change. The road modification is the best traffic option for safe access into and out of the homes, and you enthusiastically approved that last time. And those are to be built adjacent to our neighborhood, as well, and also as this amendment as written will allow us to maintain the future gifted property as we see fit. I encourage you, if you ever get a chance to come down there, give me a call. I'll be happy to take you around the property, although Jack would probably beat me to it. Thank you again for your time and service to Pasco County residents.
Sir, can I ask you a quick question? Sir? So, have you heard about what's going on with Fairway Oaks and, and the Master Association about whether they'll take the other track in the event Fairway Oaks?
I have.
Could you elaborate on that, just so we know what the status is?
I have. When we first took a look at this, one of the things we wanted to do was we took it to the residents, and we asked the residents, what do you want us to do? And again, we asked people and we took a vote. You want to know, what do people really think? And like I said, for us, it was 87% of the people who voted wanted this. I'm not sure exactly what happened with Fairway Oaks or how that was handled. That probably would be better served by their president. They have a different HOA structure. I know in order to approve things like this, it's quite onerous. I think as much as 100% of the homes have to approve when they accept property like that. I think that's a real stumbling block for them. For us, it's 50%. So I'm pretty well aware of that. I know regardless of that, I know that Mr. Lohman has held up his end of the bargain in maintaining that property over there as agricultural with there's a fire break that's required. It's on our side too. But I am familiar with that, and I can't really speak to that. I can only tell you that we took a very deliberate process to go through to accept what we would like.
Let me ask the question a different way. Does the Master Association have the same rules as Fairway where they need 100% vote? I mean, is your association part of the Master Association?
It is, and the Master Association is not an HOA. It comes under Administrative Code Statute 617. It is a corporation, but it's a little different structure. I'm real familiar with it because I also was the covenant revision chair for the revision of our covenant 2 years ago. So I'm very familiar with it. It's a corporation. It's comprised of the HOAs, and they have representatives.
My question is, has the Master Association determined whether they would, if Fairway Oaks declines to take the property, have there been any discussions with the Master Association about taking the Fairway Oaks property?
I don't believe so. I'm 99% sure that the answer to that is no.
Okay, thank you.
But we are very happy with 12, 17, 11, 3, and 4. Those are the fairways. And we're excited about that, and we have supported that for 4 years now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Baumgardner is next.
Good afternoon. I'm just here.
Just real quick, sir, before you start, just name and address, please.
Okay, Jeff Baumgardner, 7612 Sylvan Drive, Hudson.
And you have been sworn? You have been sworn?
Yes, I have been.
Very good, thank you.
I just want to back up what Jack and Joe just said about this whole community coming together. I've been involved in that area almost every day with the residents, talking to people there about what these people have done. It's almost like, kind of reminds me back where I grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where the Amish all get together and we're going to build a barn today. These people just have such a good work ethic where they just show up, they don't get paid, they bring their own tools, they bring their own equipment, and they just clean it up because they have pride in this place. When this place first closed down, a lot of animosity, and that's, of course, that's expected because they have a golf course, and look how it's pretty and green and everything. The animosity has seemed to go away in this neighborhood. I've been around every day in that neighborhood for the past, whatever it was, when it closed July 10th of 2019, and got to know a lot of the neighbors, I seemed to be a sounding board where everybody would come to complain, and I would say, look, good things are going to happen here, good things are going to happen. Obviously, it's there. It's going to probably be one of the nicest neighborhoods in all of Hudson. With instituting the parks and the recreation, we just aren't building developments like this. It's going to be beautiful. So thank you for your time. I think that they really, really did work hard to appreciate your vote to move this forward finally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
The last person signed up to speak is Phil Roderick.
Good afternoon. My name is Phil Roderick. I reside at 13923 Tennyson Drive, and I've been sworn in. My property does border the rezoned area, which I understand is already zoned R4. So it's this technical thing about getting it approved to another zoning is something beyond me. But I'm very happy about this because, for number one, everything has been presented very professionally. And I would like to thank Mr. Lohman, who I've not met, I couldn't point him out in this room, for working with our HOA, which also I'm very proud of. I have one caveat, though, at the end of this, because I think it'd be a very beautiful thing. But I feel that I wasn't there when it was built as a golf course, and I'm sure it was very dismaying for some people that were always looking out, seeing groomed land, beautiful land that was safe and not just a whole lot of ruckus. We don't have that now. Of course, Mr. Lohman had every right to plant a cash crop of trees, which was a brilliant idea. I hope those trees can be replanted if if needed. That's beyond me. But my final caveat is that I, in that community, am very concerned about the wild coyotes that run havoc there. There was yapping the other night. I didn't see them, but I've seen enough Western movies to know what coyotes sound like. And I have a puppy, 10 months old, and even though it's not a 55-plus community and people don't have fences, which is great because it's beautiful, fences are very ugly, then I'm concerned about my puppy and perhaps grandchildren, small children. I don't even know what I'd do if have to keep our dogs on a leash, of course, and I do. But if a pack of coyotes approached me, I'd pick up my dog and I'd take the bites because I could probably take it better than my puppy could or any children. So just to prevent any future lawsuits about who's responsible for not doing anything, perhaps the Department of Natural Resources can relocate the coyotes to Starkey Wilderness, or there's probably a lot more to eat out there for the coyotes than there is in our old golf course. So I'm very much in favor, and I plead with this board to approve it so it moves on to the next step. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anybody else up here have anything?
Just to answer the comment, it would really be up to the property owner, whether it's Mr. Lohman, the HOA, whoever ends up owning the property, it would be their responsibility to maintain the property in accordance. The only standard under these conditions would be in accordance with agricultural standards. So sometimes in an agricultural operation, there are wild animals there, but it would be up to the property owner to make sure that the property is kept up. The request that was made by the HOA was they be required to live with an agricultural level of maintenance. So that's different than a well-groomed, manicured golf course. So ultimately, it would be up to the HOA or Mr. Lohman, whoever the owner is, to ensure the maintenance that you're asking for.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to ask if I recall, the lady in the back, you spoke last time on this case for Fairway Oaks? Yes, yes, ma'am. Did you want to speak? Okay.
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 Okay. Very good. So nobody else here to speak? I don't know, Barbara, did you want to come back up for anything? Any rebuttal? Rebuttal to everybody in favor?
Can we mark
No.
this down? All the speakers in favor. When I did take on this project, I said, I really wanted to try to help come up with a solution, and my client as well. And to hear people speaking in favor of it like they are really makes me feel good. We sent out 745 odd notices for this hearing. We did it before as well, so this has been done twice. So to think that we touched 745 homeowners with our notices 2 times, and we had all the speaking in favor of it, I think we've accomplished something here. So thank you.
Barbara, just one
Hopefully you'll
quick
support.
question. In the event the other homeowner association does not accept the gift of property, does that in any way affect the developer moving forward with the subdivision project?
It does not.
Okay.
I was going to ask the same question. Hopefully they are able to work it out on that side too, because that'd be great for them
Well,
too.
I know a lot of work's going on up there, obviously. So thank you to everybody that's been involved and coming to this conclusion. I know Chuck will have fun when he hears that we spent 30 minutes talking about something that everybody was in favor of, so.
Well,
So with
barring any
that,
additional discussion,
yeah.
I'd move approval for P8 and P8.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a
The
motion.
second time.
Motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Denise, this goes back to the board when?
This goes back to the board on, if I'm not mistaken, March 26th at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay. Thank you. Give everybody a minute to clear out.
Any bets on whether all the rest of the folks are in favor of the next project?
Probably.
Good
Okay.
afternoon, William Vermillion, Planning and Economic Growth. And before we get started, I'd like to enter a letter of objection that I got from some citizens onto the record.
Okay. Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion and a second to receive and file. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Additionally, some ex parte communications were received, and I will be sending those to the clerk's office. So this is the J-Mar Palms MPUD. This is PEG 247734. It is located in the northwest corner of Pasco County, right off of US 19. This is a rezoning from MPUD to MPUD. The original MPUD J-Mar Palms allowed for 499 RV spaces. This new MPUD proposal will be for 250 platted townhomes and villas. It's approximately 42.8 acres on the east side of US 19, just to the south of Kreischer Lane. Here's the location map. The zoning map reflecting the original expired MPUD. The future land use of residential 24. Here is a contextual map showing US 19, its proximity to County Line Road, and the subject site, as well as 3 MPUDs that are in the area: Arapika Heights, Sunwest Harbortown, and Heritage Pines MPUD. Here is the proposed master plan. You'll see 2 access points to US 19, as well as an emergency access point on Kreischer Lane, as well as cross connects to the commercial out parcels there that are labeled 21, 22, and 23 on this master plan. That falls within the ROR future land use. Here is the non-binding conceptual plan for this MPUD. There is one variation that's being requested through this MPUD from 9016D11, which is the street design and dedication requirements. This is for the applicant to not provide interconnects to the east or to the south. Of course, that is because of the existing homes that we saw on the location map that the applicant proposes to not connect there to disrupt those people. And I will point out as well on the master plan, there is a 35-foot buffer being proposed by the applicant in response to some of the talks that they had with the citizens in the area, and that is 20 feet greater in width than would otherwise have been required by the LDC, which would have been a type 4 buffer. And with that, that comes to you guys with the recommendation of approval with conditions. Do you guys have any questions for me?
William, this is an old expired MPUD, or was previously, is that right?
Yes.
What was included in that prior MPUD?
Right, that was 499 RV spaces in the old J-Mar Palms MPUD.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, can I ask, William, do you have a copy of this letter we have just received from Mr. Yacht?
Do I myself have a copy?
Do you have a copy of that?
I don't, I gave you guys my copies. If you guys have an
Oh,
extra.
you're
for me
welcome to
look
have
at.
my copy. I guess my main question is,
I have it saved electronically.
is there anything in here that would cause you to change your recommendation or any of the recommended conditions?
No, sir,
Or-
that was kind of how the applicant got to that 35-foot buffer, was through these are concerns from the neighborhood meeting that the applicant had, and that additional buffering was a product of that neighborhood meeting.
Is it an accurate statement that says, the code states that the landscape buffer between the agricultural and MPUD should be 50 feet? Is that
No, so
true representation of the code?
That's not an accurate representation in the code. That's just I think the gentleman is mentioning the rear setback, which is 50 feet, as is the front setback. So that's not a buffer or a requirement for landscaping. It's just a setback.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes, good afternoon. Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward and Henderson, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, and I have been sworn. I'm here this afternoon representing Meritage Homes. They are the fifth largest home builder in the U.S. They offer for sale products for single-family townhomes and villas, and most of their buyers are first-time home buyers or first-time move-up. And they are an industry leader in energy efficient home building. I think Mr. Vermillion did a really good job of running through what our request is and explaining how the request is consistent and compatible with the surrounding area. We are at a Res 24 future land use category, and we're at about a density of 6 units to the acre, so we're a significant reduction. We're actually a 49% decrease in the number of units that are allowed currently or that were previously approved for this site for the RVs, and a 75% decrease in the total allowable density between the 24 units to the acre to the 6 units to the acre. And we're offering a platted townhome product, and we have an alternative for a villa, but either way, homeownership opportunity instead of a transient RV park, which was previously approved on this site. And as Mr. Vermillion pointed out, we are increasing the buffer by 10 feet to provide a 35-foot buffer that was previously proposed as 25 between the time that the gentleman wrote the letter and the conditions of approval for right now. We do have our entire team here to answer any questions. There are some questions raised in the letter regarding drainage, but of course, all of those, we're not allowed to adversely affect anyone when we go through the development process, but we can provide more specific responses if you'd like. And there are also some questions regarding transportation, and we do have Steve Henry, our traffic engineer, here to answer any questions should you have any. But other than that, we're here to answer any questions.
Is the former MPUD still valid, or is it expired?
It is expired.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from up here?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll now take public comment. I'm guessing, Denise, is there a sign-up sheet?
Yes, we have two people signed up to speak, Mark Yacht and Charles Strickler.
Okay. Mr. Yacht, if you can, please state your
Good
name and address.
afternoon. I have some things I want to add to the file. Can I present them?
Yeah, but real quick, just state your name and address, and then just acknowledge you've been sworn.
I'm Dr. Mark Yacht. I'm the retired health officer from the Pasco County Health Department. I served in that capacity for 20 years. I live at 18137 Branch Road, Hudson, Florida.
Okay, thank you.
Can I?
I guess just real quick, I mean, we can receive and file like we did before, but you're not going to get those back. Is that
Because
okay?
I emailed a filing, but I was told I had to bring and submit
Okay, we can,
this.
do we have an overhead that we can use?
Thank you. All right, we had a committee meeting following the meeting with Meritage Homes and their representatives in the Highlands, which will be impacted by this construction. Our priority was to deny this project in its entirety. It does not in any way complement the character or meet the character of the Highlands community. It's 250 units. In the total scope of the property, we live in 2.5 and 5 acre homes with few exceptions. We have livestock within the Highlands. We have chickens. We have all sorts of wages. I mean, we have wealthy. We have not so wealthy. We're a unique community, and 250 units that could bring in 1,000 people to live on 40+ acres is not something we can approve or in any way desire. However, if it is the desire of this group to approve this petition to bring in 250 units on 40+ acres, then we would suggest certain conditions. And the conditions are well stated in a letter I sent November 24th to Denise to discuss the objections we had in detail. as to what we were concerned about, but let's look at some of the highlights and then I'll quit. First, it's not in character with the Highlands at all. It's not in character with the community, and that is an issue you must take seriously. The access road currently at the rear of Branch Road properties should be protected. They were planning to put a fence and block off an access road which could have allowed emergency vehicles behind our Branch Road properties. Our Branch Road properties, the western end of our Branch Road properties abut this proposed community. So that access road should be, for emergency vehicles and other reasons, protected. Now, beyond that access road, there should be a buffer. And that buffer should be, by code, 50 feet. You have allowed 35. That's fine. But I hope that 35-foot buffer is protected, and then the appropriate perimeter fence be constructed by concrete, cinder blocks, and stucco, because that would allow for noise abatement. It should be 8 feet high and further isolate that community from the overall Highlands community. It's not in keeping with our community. The emergency road they proposed that enters Chrysler Lane is unpaved. It's unfinished. There was a time it was completely there was no ability to transverse it. You couldn't drive your car up it. So they need to take responsibility, the contractors or the county, to maintain Chrysler Road if that road is going to be an emergency access road to 19, and it should not go south. That emergency road should not come back south to Branch. Otherwise, we'll have a lot of their traffic coming into Branch Road, and that is undesirable and not in keeping with the fact that we have to maintain our roads. Now, if they want to maintain our roads, fine. Make an access to Branch Road. All right, so their emergency exit on the north side that goes to 19 needs to be paved and properly maintained. Otherwise, it's just going to deteriorate, and very rapidly, because that area is sugar sand, and it's not a road you can keep in operating condition unless you're maintaining it. All right, we are easily flooded, and that shows up in the pictures that I just gave you. We need to be sure that a condition is proper assessment of overrun, water keeping their issue with water control within their community. We are concerned about pump stations. We have had trouble with the Heritage Pines community being flooded because one of their pump stations failed. We also are concerned about our aquifer. Our aquifer is, we're all on wells pretty much. In fact, we all are on wells, and several of us are here today. We have to be sure that our aquifer is not going to be affected by their irrigation. Now, they may have a pipe for their regular water, for showers and whatever, for their plumbing, but they're going to need to irrigate that property. We need to make sure that irrigation is not affecting our aquifer. All right. There should be no access to Meridian Boulevard, although we understand there won't be, but in case that comes up, they need to then maintain Meridian Boulevard, or the county should maintain Meridian Boulevard if they're going to put their traffic into our community. I already mentioned an 8-foot concrete cinder block wall with stucco overlay, not a PVC wall, which will deteriorate in time, and then the homeowners will have to maintain it. Because once the contractors are done, they're gone, okay? It's the owners that have to take over. A PVC wall, and we all know it, is not an adequate wall that won't deteriorate over time. So it should be a cinder block wall, and it should be covered with stucco and surround the perimeter of their property except for their access. All right, the buffer we talked about. Oh, this is a very important issue. They're planning multiple story buildings, 2-story, maybe 3-story. Those buildings would look into our community. I think that the back of their community, the east side of their community, should be 1-story buildings only, because we don't want to see them, and those folks certainly don't want to see us. And that has to be considered, because the way they've designed their community, 250 units, that rear end of that community will be above the wall and will be very visible to them, which brings up the buffer. The buffer is supposed to be behind the wall, and I assume that the vegetation behind the wall will not be touched. Then there's the set-to in front of the wall. How much space is there needed to basically from the wall into their community that should not have any construction and be, basically add to this buffer zone and also for the convenience of the people that are going to live in the community, All right, finally, there's another important issue, lighting. If their lighting, and they will have lighting in their community, is shining into our community, they should design their lighting so that we're not affected by the lighting in their particular development. Traffic issues, this is a very serious issue. Traffic has to be determined during peak hours and during hours when we have our snowbirds down here. To do a traffic study early in the morning or at night is not going to give an accurate picture of the kind of traffic that goes up and down 19. And here's the reason. We have one major access into our community, Meridian Boulevard. When you come out of Meridian Boulevard, if you want to go south on 19, you have to go north first, swing across 19, and make a U-turn to come south on 19. Their exits could interfere with the traffic flow when someone from our community or anyone wants to go south on 19 because we are being forced to go north on 19, that's fine. And then we make our U-turn because that's the way the traffic is designed, and that's fine. But they're going to have 1,000 people in there coming in and out, and that could affect traffic patterns significantly, and that needs to be understood. So, just in closing.
Real quick, and just real quick, I know we took us a while to get these pictures up, and I think you're probably over your 3 minutes at this point.
I'm sorry?
It took us a while to get these pictures up, and I realize that, but you're probably over your 3 minutes, so we've given you a little bit of extra time. I just need you to wrap it up, and then as you're doing that, I don't know if there's anything in particular here in the pictures that you want to go over.
Okay, the only thing that the pictures are to represent is we have serious flooding problems, and the county knows that because they've had to come in and do repairs at times. We are a community that takes care of its own roads, but they were never engineered properly years and years ago. So even with the slightest rain, we're going to get flooding. Those are old pictures. These are pictures I took recently. That picture I took. And that's just after a typical rain, because we haven't had much rain. That was just a rain for a few hours. And that's Meridian Boulevard right there flooded. When we get heavy rains, that road can be covered. All right, there's another example. That's not my picture. That's a picture that was given to me by one of the residents of flooding they faced at their home from serious rain. Light rains can give us a lot of collection. Serious rains, we get flooding. That's why it's so important for them to control runoff from their community. If they don't, we're going to have problems.
We'll let them address that when they come up here. I mean, there's a couple engineers up here on the board, and I know there's several people listening from the county as well. I mean, everybody well aware, and there's a lot of regulations out there that govern this type of thing. So if you can, I just need you to go ahead and in closing, I know you've got quite a bit of stuff outlined here in the letter. So
Just, can we go back to the first?
I'm just going to close by saying.
Hold on one second. We've got one
I'm
question
sorry.
for
Go
you.
ahead.
The very first one.
Okay,
So the
please
house-
speak a little louder because I'm not.
Where is this house?
What is the address of this house?
My house?
Is this
Oh,
the house? Is that your
That
house?
particular house, I don't know. It was given to me by a resident during very heavy rainstorms. I can explain the pictures I took, but there's two pictures in there. I don't know exactly where they are in the Highlands. Okay.
On Philly Lane, behind Branch Road on Philly Lane, which is basically the house right
Okay.
behind Philly and Branch.
They were able to get that. We can't, sir. Just, if you would just come up here and just speak into the microphone so she can catch this so the clerk can catch that.
Yes, sir. Charles Scott Strickler, 18335 Branch Road, and I do recognize the location. It's across diagonal from my property. It's at the intersection of Branch Road and Philly Lane. There's a swamp-type property right at that intersection, and that swamp floods right there, mostly from Heritage, but it also comes off of 19. There were pumping stations that put that water into that area. There's now currently a marker and a survey point with a water height marker, and survey crews have come out and they've monitored that location. It seems to be better, but last year was a drought, so, you know, it could be next year that that area is additionally flooded like that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, just to end, our group wants this petition denied. This came out of a community meeting. We were voted to represent that group here. The county was invited to that meeting, chose not to show up, but we are against this, and we appreciate this opportunity to
Is
discuss
there a
our issues.
particular issue in the land development code or the comprehensive plan?
I'm sorry?
Is there a particular issue you can point out in the land development code or the comprehensive plan that would be a reason for denial?
Scott, you might know that better. Is there
Well,
something in the
I'm
code
asking
that
you,
would be a
when he
reason for
can
denial?
talk when it's his turn to talk.
Okay, he's going to speak, and would you give him that question?
Okay. Yeah, just make sure when you're back at the microphone whenever you talk. She just has to be able to capture it on the recording, that's all.
Okay, for all intents and purposes, I'm done. I'll take any questions, but I don't hear well, so I'll have to walk up to you. Okay.
Another question, William, when did the MPUD, the one that expired, when did that expire? The previous one?
Oh, is he going to answer that?
Yes, sir. And then,
I don't remember right off the top of my head. Denise is pulling it up right now in our system, though.
I'm just curious, Dr. Yod, if you were involved with the MPUD approval initially for this area?
Gave an approval with conditions, is that what you're asking?
Were you involved with that process when it was,
Not
what
in
was supposed to
front
be?
of the zoning board.
Okay,
I was not involved in that earlier process. I should have been.
and William, we were looking at 499
499 RV spaces, and it looks like that expired in 2016.
and 16? Okay.
It expired in 16, but they did obtain executive order extensions. So I think the last one looks like it may have expired in 2022 or so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for coming out, and thanks for your explanation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Denise, who was next on the list? I don't remember, sorry.
Sure, Mr. Charles Strickler. That's the last person I have signed up to speak.
Good afternoon, board members. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Charles Scott Strickler, 18335 Branch Road, Hudson, Florida. I have adjacent property to the proposed MPUD site that is owned by Caleb Miller. The only reason I mentioned the fact that I'm a retired lieutenant colonel is because of the honesty that I wanted to bring forward. Meritage Homes said that they have quality homes. I want to introduce two items. I have two sworn statements that have been notarized that I would like to present to the board. May I do so?
Move to receive and file?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Just give them to the clerk there, and then she'll distribute
Are
them
those
out.
long, like multi-page?
One is a one-pager and.
Give him to the clerk.
and one is
Thank you, sir.
also just a one-pager, but like 5 examples behind it. It's all the same? There's two actually sworn statements. One is against Mr. Caleb Miller, and one is against Meritage Homes.
So, sir, does the applicant have a copy of these? Because I think they should have a chance to rebut whatever's in there. I don't know.
Absolutely.
If they don't have a copy,
Can we give them one?
I'm happy to give them my copy, but
And I only have 5 copies. I'm sorry. I understood from the commission that it was going to be a 5-person
Yeah, we can share on the
panel.
dais, that's fine, we
I
can
would have
get
made
you
more
a copy.
copies if I had
So-
known.
if we could get at least one of those copies to the applicant, I'd appreciate it.
Trying to figure out,
There's like 3 pages to it.
it's 3 pages, okay.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
So this is all one set?
Second page of the first one-pager is actually the correct notary. So I went to Wells Fargo this morning, and they notarized it. They said that the site from the Florida site was not correct, which is on the front, so they put the correct notary, which says that I did it in person.
different than this or same? Oh, no, this is.
That's one packet. This is another package, just that doesn't have this picture.
Okay.
Okay, so there's. This is the sworn statement.
Here you go.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, that one.
gotcha.
Take one down and pass it around.
You ready to proceed?
Yeah, go ahead.
The first one, very simple, straightforward. I filed a claim with the Fish and Wildlife Commission, incident number 240900141147 for the destruction of tortoise mounds done by property owner Caleb Miller, and understood by Meritage Homes that that was done. They immediately did their survey for the gopher turtles after the clearing of the land. So we had the destruction of the land for 2 weeks by a undercutting brush machine, destroying the turtle mounds during the month of May, June, July, which is their egg laying season. And then WRA, the survey crew, came in, they had it in the application, came in and marked the tape. They came up with 30 turtles. I say that there's more like 60 from my estimate. So this is an inaccurate estimate and in collusion of fraud. Second is my,
Were they issued a citation from FWC?
it's only been recently done. So both the tortoise program and law enforcement have been notified. They have not issued a finding on the investigation yet.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? I'll move forward. The second one, Meritage Home just said that they're a quality home builder. Right here is 5 direct searches off of Google. They have a 1.1 average out of 5, and a 1 is the lowest you can get. So a 0 average. This is coming from the Better Business Bureau. This is coming from Consumer Affairs. This is coming from House. I provided you this search, the example. You can look it up yourselves. This is not a quality home builder. They're deceitful. They have lied to me. They've lied at the meeting that we had for the neighborhood piece. And then the last piece that I have that I just took today is this photograph that you have. This is how they advertised your meeting, in a garbage dump and on the ground. Today, or yesterday, they put it up on Route 19. This is deceit. This is deceit. I walked up and down looking for this sign for the last 2 weeks, marking it. I've got it in emails. I have proof of this. It was not on 19. It was on Kreischer Lane in a dump. Rained on, not put up. They didn't give us a 30-day notification. Deceitful company, destroys turtles. This is not the people that we want developing a community for us. A 1.15 out of 5. That's 300 voices that have put it in writing that are not here but are standing behind me. 5 different websites. Do the Google search. I didn't cherry pick the ones that were low. This comes from the top down. Better Business Bureau says they're a 1.15. 97%, not like the good side, 87% from the last ones. 97% of the people say the company is deceitful and dishonest, and that's their words. I have had the same experience personally at hand. Thank you.
Can we see the last photograph you just held out? I couldn't see that from here.
Yeah, the last one here is on Kreischer Lane. This is that unimproved road to the north. It goes up the hill, it's kind of paved for a little bit, and then it turns into dirt.
Yeah,
into a
we
dirt
have
unimproved
in
road.
our package, their proof of publication and notification, and they posted a sign on 19. They included photos on 19. Well, I have a picture, so maybe they set the sign up there, took the picture, took it down. I doubt it, but maybe they did. And they did one also on Kreischer Lane, so.
The prior notification was on 19. I concur with that. When we did the neighborhood meeting, they did that and put it up on 19. This last time, I go up and down 19 every day. It was put up either yesterday or today. The photos that I have them date marked on my thing. If we want to go into a deep dive on evidence, they put it in a garbage dump on Kreischer Road. Because I walked up and down and looked for it forever, because we wanted to know when this meeting was.
Okay, very good. Well, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question, too?
Yeah, and I didn't get the the question. Go ahead.
So, I know you're citing the stuff on Google and all that, which has some merit, I'm sure, but it's also hearsay. So can you speak more to the specific things that you said you were lied to, or specific things that you encountered yourself in dealing with the developer?
Yeah, the environmental study is really what got me. First off, I asked them, who destroyed the land? Who destroyed the mounds, right? They didn't want to speak to that. They danced around. They wouldn't say who did it, right? So I had to eventually say, well, then the owner of the property, Caleb Miller, is responsible for it. They said, okay. They didn't agree, didn't disagree. I told the environmental study person, I asked them, I got it. You can do permits and you can remove gopher turtles and you get a permit for that. I got it. You got 30 of them that you have identified from your partial survey, not your full survey, but your partial survey. And it's going to cost you $171,000 according to their survey piece. I said, well, what about all the other turtles that you destroyed? We didn't destroy turtles. I was like, well, the owner destroyed ahead of time. After you've drawn your data, but before you do your survey, he does the destruction of mounds inside of the area, right? And then I asked him, well, what are you going to do about the trees, right? Are you just going to clear cut the area just like everybody else does? I said, you have migratory birds that are in the area. Did you do a migratory bird study? According to federal law, no. He looked at me and he's like, wide eye. I said, you have woodpeckers in there. Really? They have pileated woodpeckers in there, and they possibly have caucated woodpeckers in there. But I'm not a biologist, so I have the FWC biologist working on that right now. So those are the two main things that are there. The one that threw me over the top is when they put that notification on Chrysler Lane, and it sits in a dump right there. And then they put it up again, and the storm blew it over. And then 2 days before the meeting here, they put it out on 19. Shame on them. Meritage Home is not the people that the citizens of Pasco County need building their homes. They're going to be trouble from day one to the day they walk away, turn it over to a HOA, just like these HOA guys, and they're going to be held responsible. The homeowners are going to have shit to deal with from a horrible corporation that I have tried to document. My opinion, the opinion of the Better Business Bureau, 1.15 rating out of 5.
So, and just so you know, the picture that we have here in our packet shows that sign, and the trash wasn't there. So it's possible the trash got dumped. Who knows who it got dumped by? But it's possible the trash got dumped after the picture and after the sign was posted. So, just so you know.
It also looks like that area on the north side is one of the only areas that they could have posted that sign at Chrysler. So it's,
you can see the second sign.
I'm looking at a map.
Yeah, we have the
There's
pictures
one
in our
the
packet.
trash, and the reason I found it is because my dog was stolen. So I went out there with my old GPS tracker, and I freaking, because my GPS tracker it was in the trash right there, and I was like, oh shit, here's their sign that they're informing us of the neighborhood meeting. They put it out there. in the middle
Yeah,
of the
so it looks
trash
like the
dump
garbage got dumped
on the side
after
road.
it was posted.
Yeah, there's garbage all over the place. When they came and they undercut the thing, there's homeless people in there. They destroyed homeless camps.
So here, under oath, you legitimately think they went out there and found a pile of garbage and put the sign in the middle of the garbage?
They put it twice.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I just want to make sure I understood. Okay.
Yes. Not only once was the sign put there, when it was put up a second time, because that first sign is all water damaged. We can go back out and you can go up and look at it right now. It's sitting right there. And then the second time when I came out, I took a photograph of it in front of a sheriff. And the sheriff was there. And I can give you the case number for that. So yes, under oath, I am swearing to God. And that's why I use my former piece, because I swore an oath to the Constitution and to the Senate to protect and defend the Constitution. So yes, this is 100% the truth.
Well, I'm
In my opinion-
again, I wasn't questioning whether the sign is in the garbage. I was asking you if you personally thought they went out there and found a pile of garbage and put the sign in the middle of the pile of garbage when they put it up.
Yes, I do. Because
Okay.
I'll tell you, the
That
reason
you
why-
answered the question. It was just yes or no. That's fine.
Because the first time they put it on the sign that has the for sale lot, that's how we saw the first neighborhood meeting. The second time, because they don't want us here, they put it out on Kreischer Road on the very back side on a very.
Yeah, a lot of times, a lot of developers will put multiple signs around the property, even though they're only required, I think, by code to put it on one side, on the most prominent side, but a lot of times they will put it on multiple sides.
I got you.
It's not
And-
uncommon.
And under oath, I will tell you, it was not there on 19 until at least 2 days ago.
Okay, well, I mean, we have them under oath swearing that they posted a sign on February 7th. So we've got it on both sides. So just full clarity on both sides of the story here, okay?
And that's why it goes back
Gotcha.
to credibility
I
of
understand.
witnesses, right?
Okay.
So I put mine under a notary. I took it directly.
so did they.
From 300 people.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
you know.
John, did you have a
Thank
question?
you very much.
When was the complaint made to FWC about the gopher tortoises?
The original one was done Wednesday of last week, and the other one was done, well, I just did a follow-up call today.
And when do you,
They actually
when do you say
contacted
that
me.
they actually went in and disturbed these burrows?
Yes, sir.
Are you saying that they cleared the property or partially cleared the property? Is that what you're
They did, they came in
testifying
with the
to?
brush hog, you know, those, the tractor things with the rotating brush hog things. So they came in, they created 3 new trails through the property, dug all the way down through the dirt, bounded up some areas, and then went through the property for 14 days, and there's tons of residents that, because it's annoying, it's disturbing, and it flails up, and it takes the brush that was about, you know, from chest to head high, it took it all the way down to the ground. It went over the top of burrows, it destroyed, molested.
And when was this?
It was June, July of last year.
And you
of
just made the
2003,
complaint
and
last
they-
week?
Huh?
And you just made the complaint about gopher tortoises last week?
I had made the complaint to them. I only have found out about all the code and the actual remedies for this. So according to FWC, I have 18 months for that complaint to be filed, and it's now been 8 months. So I am 1 year away from having expired
So
my
how do you
opportunity
know?
to.
I'm not saying that you're wrong or that you're not telling the truth, but I'm asking, how do you know that they disturbed gopher tortoise burrows?
They said that there's 30 right now.
Who said?
WRA.
Okay, so their consultant says they found approximately 30 burrows.
They marked 30 burrows. Most of them that they marked
So
are.
what I'm asking is, how do you know they were disturbed?
Because I can look directly into the property. I'm an adjacent property.
Well, how big is this property?
My
50
property
acres.
is 5 acres, theirs is 40 acres.
So you can see all 40 acres of,
No, I can see, you asked me, how do you know that it is?
well, were all 30 burrows concentrated in one place?
They're mostly no, because they didn't do a complete survey. They did a partial survey and extrapolated statistical data analysis that says there's 30 turtles there.
Well, that's common in the
That's
industry.
typical.
I understand, but you're asking me how I know. How do they know that there's only 30 turtles? How do they know they didn't destroy?
I'm not saying they're right or wrong, I'm just asking, how do you know the burrows were disturbed? Did you see a disturbed burrow? Did you see a
Yes.
dead tortoise?
I have a picture of a disturbed tortoise
Can you show us
burrow.
that?
Huh?
Can you show us that?
It will take me a few minutes, but I've got it on camera. It's where they had plowed a road, put the spoil to the side because they didn't want to get on the fire break road that Mr. Yates had talked about, piled it up right there, and the tortoise was able to dig itself back out of that area and leave his pile. So the answer is yes, I do have a photo, and it'll take me some time to produce that evidence, and I can come back and give it to you, or if
I
you
just
want
want to make
take
sure that
3 to
when
5.
I make a decision or a recommendation, that I'm basing it on something that's sound, not just he said, she said, and
Right.
so if you've got that, I'm happy to look at it, and we'll take that under consideration.
Okay.
Now, the question that I didn't get answered by Dr. Yacht was, is there some particular land development code section and/or comprehensive plan section that you think that this development should be denied based on? I'm asking you that because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, and we're we can't deny a development just because you don't like it. You have to stick to matters of the land development code or the comprehensive plan. And so if there's some reason that you can point out, I'm happy to take that under consideration. But I can't just recommend a denial because you don't want it. That the law doesn't allow us to do that. That's not how the process works. I'm trying to help you.
I got you. So, first off, they violated the law. So, the protection of habitat is protected under Florida law, and it's protected under federal law. They're in violation of that. So, they have restoration processes they have to go through in order to continue with their development. They have not met that criteria. So, therefore, it should be denied until the investigation is complete and restoration has been done that meets federal regulations and Florida regulations for the protection of wildlife habitat. There's also setbacks. They're asking for waivers. I do not like what they've asked for and a waiver. So
Okay.
the law is the law. They're asking for a waiver. I say it should be denied.
I don't
They
think
don't
they're asking
have.
for a waiver.
They
in the-
do, they don't have. We'll continue with that. Go
The
ahead.
waiver that they've asked for
Was
is
to
not to
increase
have
it.
to connect to your neighborhood
Right.
with the street.
That's correct.
That's the only variance they're asking for, from the code.
Yep. And actually, the code allows a 15-foot setback, and I believe they're increasing that to 35 foot.
35.
For the landscape buffer.
For landscape buffer.
Correct.
yeah. Not setback, but landscape buffer.
Okay, well, I think, I mean, I know the applicants here, they have a chance to rebut, and I know they'll probably have explanations here. I mean, understanding the full process here, I mean, this is zoning. The next thing they have to go through is the site plan and the permitting, which they have to go through all the state agencies. They have to do all the environmental studies. They have to pull all the gopher tortoise permits. A lot of these people involved in this particular project do projects all over the place. This isn't their first project. I doubt that they would go out there and I mean, there's serious penalties for impacting protected species. I mean, turtles, tortoises, all the things you've mentioned. So, I mean, they will, and I'm fully confident that they will follow and pull all the permits. Now, the gopher tortoise impact permit, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they can even pull that permit until they have a site development permit.
No, sir. Yep.
So, I
And
mean,
that has to be
there
done
are,
within, what, 30 days of construction?
and there are steps that they have to take.
90 days, comprehensive study needs within 90 days, but
Right.
yeah, so what they're doing is absolutely appropriate for the stage of the project.
Meritage is.
Well,
Mr. Miller, who owns the property, has not followed those rules.
Okay, well, we're,
Mr. Miller owns the property.
okay,
Meritage is the agent, authorized agent to speak on his
Right.
behalf. So he is the actual owner of the property and responsible for actions on that property until such time that he sells it to Meritage. It's under contract, not for sale.
The applicant's going to come back up, and I feel confident that they'll address what's happened out there and provide explanation for us to hear.
Okay.
Okay? I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, was that it? Is there anybody else here to speak?
Mr. Chair, do you mind if you just call, just in case I didn't capture everyone?
That's fine. Is there anybody else here to speak on this item? Okay, if you can please come forward.
Hi, my name is Linda Bell, and I've lived on the property for over 50 years. I'm a retired Pasco County school teacher. Now, when the Millers,
Ma'am, what's your address?
oh, I'm sorry, 18329 Branch Road, Hudson. When we had dealings with the Millers before, they were very nice. We actually did not oppose the RV site. It was explained to us that it was going to be a nice park-type thing where the people would have their RVs. It'd be there during the winter months, then they go away for the summer, and it was going to be peaceful and calm. We did not oppose that. Then all of a sudden now they're changing what they wanted to do. Instead of a nice RV park with retired people, and I spent a lot of time with the Millers. They took us out to the Word of Life. They even donated materials to my school. Now all of a sudden they want to change it. 1,000 people, 250 units. Now, did they lie when they said it was going to be a nice, peaceful RV park? and all of a sudden now decide they want to make it into some kind of $300, $250 unit with 1,000 people, who knows, of all different ages. As a teacher, I like all different ages. But my idea, what happened? Where from this nice, peaceful RV park to 250 units with all kinds of people and noise and who knows what, and water? Where does the water come from? And like the gentleman said, the flooding is really bad. And my husband and I, we have to take care of the road. We go out and fix potholes ourselves by going ahead and buying $40, $60 worth of asphalt. So that's I guess my concern. What happened? Did they lie to us? Now all of a sudden they want to put all these units? That's what has me upset also. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else here to speak on this item? If not, is the applicant, do you want to come forth and maybe provide us some rebuttal on any of the items that were brought up?
Sure. Cami Corbett again with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson. Just real briefly on what was approved previously, it was 499 RV spaces. There was no limitation on age. It was not restricted to a 55 and older, nor was it restricted to seasonal or short-term rentals. Those were potentially full-time residents, and we are reducing the number of units by in half. I would like to have Joe Simino from WRA to come up and directly address some of the issues related to the gopher tortoises as well as the drainage issues.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Joe Simino with Water Resource Associates, AKA WRA Engineering, 12363 Hampton Park Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33624. I do need to be sworn.
Okay.
Please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do. We'll tackle the drainage first. Our proposed project is going to drain towards 19. It's going to drain towards 19 at elevations around 15 to 20. That's going to be the control elevations to the west that we're draining to. Looking at the residents along Branch and along Meridian, their elevations are around 25, 30, 40, so significantly higher. It's going to be a fun engineering design. There's not usually a lot of topography like this on a site. There is in this case. So we're not draining at them by any means. I did recognize the flooding concerns along Branch Road, specifically along Philly. I think I'm saying that right. Again, we're not draining in any way, shape, or form in that direction. To be fair, there is drainage that tries to get from them to the east across us to the west to 19. Our site plan will be reviewed by the Southwest Florida Water Management District and multiple departments within Pasco County that review the stormwater, and they will absolutely be looking at that spot with a magnifying glass to make sure we have the adequate bypass through it. We are in the Hammock Creek Regional Watershed Model, which we will plug our proposed conditions into. We won't just do our site in a vacuum. We'll plug it into the Regional Watershed Model. I think I've covered the drainage, and then real quick on the environmental. I am the owner and principal of Water Resource Associates, AKA WRA. I am happy to talk with this gentleman afterwards and answer any questions he has. Our environmental team does everything by the book. I'm not sure what he was referring to about the previous owner, but our environmental staff did nothing more but walk transects miles through that site just looking for gopher tortoise burrows and flag whatever ones they saw. It was a partial survey, as is required during the NPUD. No more than 90 days out from construction, we're required to do a 100% survey. Anything we find that needs to be relocated needs all the proper permits to relocate. There are no more incidental take permits like the old days. We've got to find a home for anything that's in the way of construction. Happy to answer any questions.
Quick question. I'm looking at Pasco Mapper at 1 foot topo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Pasco Mapper doesn't give us the luxury of defining basin boundaries, but
Sure.
in your opinion, is this an open drainage basin or a closed drainage basin?
The north half of the site is an open basin. The southern half of the site is a closed basin. That will all get taken into account in our design.
And for the record, in closed basins, your design will be for the 100-year
Absolutely.
24-hour event, correct?
Yes, sir. We'll be looking at the 100-year storm down there, and we've already looked at the portions of the homes along Branch and Meridian that.
And the soil type out here?
And the soil type is A, so it perks like
So
crazy.
Perks good, and it's low runoff potential,
Right.
correct?
And just to clarify, I'm sure that raised some flags. Perking well is good for the design because it means we have to retain more. It doesn't mean we get a free pass.
Yes,
So
I
that's a
understand
good
that.
thing for the design being
In a
conservative.
closed basin design criteria, okay.
All right. And we've identified the portions of the homes along Branch and Meridian that are draining towards us, and we've specifically put our ponds and collector basins in locations to accept that flow, not block it or try to divert it or anything like that.
Okay, that's all.
Joe, while you're up here, I guess, speaking on utilities, because I didn't see anything referenced in the memo, is this on county water and sewer?
Yes,
Are there
sir.
facilities in place?
Yes, county water and sewer, so no septic tanks, nothing of the sort.
All right, and are we in the
Condition
Weeki-Wachi
32.
BMAP area here?
The Weeki-Wachi BMAP area.
Yeah, just curious about whether or not Atef knows the question I'm gonna ask, just whether or not we're connecting to reclaim, or if there's reclaim service available.
Atef Han at Pasco County Utilities. We are in the BMAP area, so we cannot actually.
No reclaim
No
water?
reclaim,
Okay,
no.
fair enough, thank you.
The nearest reclaim is like 3 miles away, so, and we have water and sewer along 19.
Yep, and there's sufficient capacity.
Yes, these
On
are
both
large
sides.
lines.
Okay.
Um,
Anything else for Joe?
Not for Joe, but maybe for the young lady. Sorry, I forgot your name. I know you represent the buyer, so I don't know if you can speak to anything that the owner's done there, but do you know anything about running mulchers and bush hogs through the property by the owner?
Cami Corbett again with Hill Ward Henderson. What we are aware of through the broker for the property, that they did clear for fire suppression, but that was approximately 2 years ago. It wasn't anything contemporaneous to this application in any way, shape, or form. And whatever inventory for gopher tortoises have been done was subsequent to that clearing.
Okay.
Question for you, and maybe it's better asked to David. Does the county commission have the legal authority to demand the minimum value of a home?
Sir, once you have a chance to speak, I'm sorry, we have to limit it to one time, or else we'll be here all week.
I would say generally no. I mean, I think that now the legislature has preempted some of our ability to regulate aesthetics, but I think the county can
You
regulate.
can't add a condition of approval that says thou shalt have a minimum home value
Well,
of
you couldn't
$500,000.
because the homeowners are controlling, you could have a recession and all the home values go below that.
Correct.
But make sure I give you a complete answer to your question, though. The county can regulate lot sizes, certain amount of aesthetics, landscaping, things that might enhance the value of a home, but not actual value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, you answered the question.
Okay.
Yes, and if I could address that too real quickly. I think he's specifically responding to a request made by a citizen to condition the development to have a minimum sales price of $500,000 or
Yes.
more. I would say that would not be a lawful condition. I don't know how it would be enforceable. And it would also invite a slippery slope of an evaluation of what the current home values are along the abutting properties, and I don't think that's any conversation that anybody really wants to get into.
Another issue that was brought up was traffic, because it looks like there's 2 proposed access points on 19 there. And it looks like one of them is right adjacent to, I guess it's another road across 19 as well as a turn-through. So is there a plan to signalize that, or is there a plan to?
If I could have Steve Henry, our transportation engineer. come
That's
up.
what I figured you'd say.
Well, and what I'll do is I've got some graphics to show you.
Okay.
Well, here, I got multiple copies if you want to.
Do I need to move to receive and file?
You want them back, Steve, or?
No, I got
Okay, so, yeah.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Let me give you.
Motion to receive and file in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So you have to pass them down. You want to pass them out, but there's multiple copies of those.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so you look at those, and what I've done is shown the site plan on aerial and then provided the location of the two access points. And these access points actually align with directional median openings that are in US 19 today. And if you look at those aerials, you can actually see where they've already built, DOT already built the right turn lanes for the project. They're striped out today because there's no driveway there, but they've actually built the right turn lane. So to answer your question, would it ever be signalized? No, because it's a directional median opening.
Right.
And we also looked at the level of service to those, and it meets the both delay and VC criteria with the project. And we also looked at the length of those turn lanes, both the right and left turn lanes. And with the project, the turn lanes are long enough, in fact, a little bit longer than they need to be with our project.
And Steve, you don't do traffic counts in the middle of the night, right?
No, correct. We do counts AM and PM peak hour. We convert those to peak season, so we're looking at the absolute worst case as far as the year. We convert them to the actual peak week of the year.
That was the question I was going to ask. I knew the answer to the question, but I wanted you to state it to address that particular
Can we
concern.
have Joe Simino up one more time, too?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Irrigation wells. At what point do they trigger a consumptive use permit from the Water Management District?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think when it gets above 4 inches to 6 inches.
Above 4 inches, yes, correct. Otherwise, we're presumed not to have any
Correct.
substantive impact on the aquifer.
Correct. You still need a construction permit, so there's still
Yes.
regulations you need to jump through.
Understood.
So above a 4-inch line?
Yes.
Well, 4 inches.
Above a 4-inch well.
Yeah.
Well, gotcha.
Ms. Corbett, I know you've only been given this today, but I assume that you'll correspond with Mr. Yott or talk to Mr. Yott and Mr. Stricker about their concerns if they haven't already raised them to you.
We will certainly continue a dialogue. These concerns are similar to those that were raised at the neighborhood meeting that have been subsequently received in the file, and that we have taken them into consideration by increasing our buffers. We did move the dog park. It was originally at the northern portion. If you look at the conceptual plan, you'll see the dog park is at the center of the location of the community instead of at the northern end. We also moved a lift station that was on the east side of the property to the west side of the property in response to the concerns. So we have tried to listen to the concerns of the residents and address them to the best we can, and we would continue that dialogue to the extent that there's anything that we could reasonably incorporate it into the proposal.
How about Dr. Yott's request for a wall instead of a fence on the,
A wall, a concrete wall or masonry wall, from a long-term maintenance standpoint, is really a burden on the homeowners. We are going to be placing the fence that we are proposing is going to be on the property line, the interior property line, and the screening will be on the eastern side of that. And so it makes it easier for the long-term maintenance of the HOA. Masonry walls are a lot more subject to environmental, constraints, or I guess they get deteriorate.
Settling, cracking.
Yeah, exactly, cracking, and it really burdens, might be initial cost to Meritage, but it's the long-term homeowners that have to take care of that, and we just aren't really sure that there's any additional mitigation that's provided by that material, but it's certainly something we could consider, continue a dialogue regarding the material related to that fence, but I don't think concrete or masonry wall makes a whole lot of sense.
So along that 35-foot buffer there, is there plans to leave as much vegetation existing intact?
Some of that is going to be challenging more so than in other sites because of the topography, but to the extent that we can do that, we certainly will. I mean, obviously, anything we take out, we have to replant pursuant to the landscaping and screening, but that's essentially what we're looking at. But the topography here is a little bit more challenging than a normal site.
Okay.
Regarding that back area where they had the one-story structure request, did you address that?
That's not something we can really accommodate here because we do have townhomes, which are typically 2 stories. We're not any different in terms of building height with the adjacent property owners, which are allowed a 35-foot building height. So there's really not, I don't think we could consider that here. We're given that we have 10 feet of rear yard setback plus another 35 feet. We're 45 feet from the property line. Plus, there is extensive existing vegetation on their side. So we really think that the likelihood that they'd be able to have any impact from that or there be any looming over from the two-story townhomes to a one-story home is really not something that we think would happen here.
Is there anything in the AR zoning district that would prevent them from building a 2- or 3-story
No.
home on their own lot?
No, there is not. And with that, we're here to answer any questions. you
Yeah, and
have.
I know there was a question about lighting. I don't even know really it's for you to answer, but that's all a requirement of the code as far as on-site lighting and spillage off-site goes. I know there was a comment, somebody said something about access to Meridian and how this project, that there is no access here to Meridian.
No.
The access to the north to Kreitzer is emergency access only.
Correct.
It's not to be, all of the access and permanent access by any residents is directly off US 19, so.
Can I ask William a question? Well, it's kind of indirectly a question for William. William, is there anybody from Natural Resources that is available? I just want to know if there's anything they heard today that would cause them to change their recommendation and the conditions of approval to deal with endangered species.
Questions too, if we can get somebody.
So, whenever Mr. Strickler called me, I immediately let Jackie Jordan from Natural Resources know, and she didn't have any other concerns once I relayed what Mr. Strickler had said to me.
So she's,
aside from the
so all the testimony that we heard today about endangered species, gopher tortoises, Jackie's heard all that before?
It wasn't specific to what was said today. It was more in the general, these species could be being disturbed, and I told Mr. Strickler that I would let the Natural Resources Department know to see if we need any additional conditions done.
I'm confused by something that was mentioned in one of the conditions of approval, and it had to do with bald eagle nests, and I was just confused by the language, and what I couldn't tell was, are you saying if we find a nest later, or was there a nest found during the initial environmental assessment? Because I saw where it says there may have been kestrel.
Is that condition 6 that you're referring to?
It does say the presence of any new bald eagle nests.
Right, yeah,
So that
that's where I'm
implies that there
confused.
might be an existing one.
That is a question for Jackie. These are all conditions that were
So
provided to
is
me by
Jack,
Natural
well,
Resources.
that's why I started the conversation. Is Jackie available or
I
not?
don't see her online.
She is listed as out of the office today.
So there's nobody from Natural Resources available to answer questions. I'm just,
While we're waiting, can I ask a Tef another question? What's the minimum flood recurrence interval that you're required to set a lift station top up above?
You have to be 1 foot above that 100-year.
Okay. Very good.
That's for the top of
For the top of the lift station, yes, I understand.
so Denise, if the answer is no, I guess my request would be that when this goes to the board, that somebody from Natural Resources be available either in person or online to address these allegations, because I'm not sure that the planning commission or even the board have the expertise to know, were these issues investigated when Natural Resources went out? Because there's a series of conditions that deal with gopher tortoises, eagle's nests, American kestrel, and,
Isn't that in the context, though, of a development approval? I mean, the gentleman's assertion was that the current property owner went out and did this, not the applicant for this.
well, I agree, but I believe that our Natural Resources staff develops these conditions by doing a site visit. They don't just dream up these conditions. I mean, they do a site visit and determine
It
whether.
says was observed. so,
Right, so they do it based on actual observations of
Yeah.
habitat. So I get your point, but Natural Resources could probably tell us whether, when they went out there, whether there was evidence of this prior disturbance activity, or not. I mean, they investigate a lot of sites, and so I think they probably would be able to.
And again, she mentioned it was fire break that was done by the previous owner 2 years ago. So.
All I'm saying is I think it would be helpful to have their input on the allegations, because they did an actual site visit to look for these species and to look for the habitat, so.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, but that allegation is against the owner, not the applicant in the case. Okay, if the owner went out and did this, and I'm not saying he did or he didn't, then the appropriate means is code enforcement cites him for some violation of county ordinance, and/or FWC or U.S. Fish and Wildlife comes out and cites him or arrests him, as the case may be, for some violation of state or federal law, but that doesn't have much to do with the zoning.
Well, it might, in the sense that if there were some mitigative measures required as a result of that violation, it might result in additional conditions on the developer.
To mitigate.
To mitigate for those prior disturbances. So, but I don't know whether Natural Resources found evidence of prior disturbances that would require additional mitigative measures.
Got it.
I don't know if they know about this complaint and whether, if it's found to be valid, whether it would result in additional mitigative measures. I mean, so that's why I think it would be helpful to have their expertise when we have these discussions. I didn't know that they weren't available, so. Terry, were you going to say something?
Charles Pito's Planning and Economic Growth. We could talk to Natural Resources and they can be present at the BCC public hearing with us.
Okay, it's just interesting, you all have like transportation people on call, you have utilities people on call. For some reason you don't, that's why I'm not sure why we don't have Natural Resources on call, but.
We'll talk it over with Keith.
In the normal course of
not come up,
events, it's just a standard condition that you'll comply with state and federal law with regard to listed and/or endangered species. And I'm curious, I'll be anxious to learn. I mean, I have pileated woodpeckers on my own property. I don't know.
Well, the difference though in this case is that apparently there was an allegation prior to this hearing that they were violating state or federal laws that relates to endangered species, so I would think,
Right.
I would think the Natural Resources might be here to speak to it. That was kind of my point.
You go ahead.
If I could, Cammie Corbett again, there are issues related to gopher tortoises in this letter dated November 14th that have been in the record with your staff since November. So I don't really think that, although the specifics of what was presented today in testimony in terms of what was disturbed or not disturbed came up maybe today, but it's been an ongoing complaint of the residents regarding natural resources issues. So I think, for me, I presume that since we've dealt with it in the conditions, the Natural Resources staff has reviewed this application and it has not found any issues with it. I don't have any objection, obviously, to going forward, having them available, but I don't want anybody to go away from this hearing to think that this is a brand-new issue that came up today for the first time. These folks are opposed to the development. They were opposed to the development when we had our neighborhood meeting. The gentleman testified himself, and it's in his sworn statement, that he raised the issue of gopher tortoises during our November meeting, in our community meeting. So this is not a new issue that's just being brought up today
Yet
for
the
the first time.
complaint wasn't filed until just recently.
This letter, November 14th, which is, I think, the same letter that you received today, has been on file since November.
Well, that's a different person, so that's.
They're both raising similar
Dr. Yacht's,
issues. Dr. Yacht's letter raises issues of species and gopher tortoises and habitat.
From November.
And again, the gentleman's sworn statement, written statement, and his testimony today, Mr. Strickler, said that he raised this at our neighborhood meeting and has testified that he talked to us about it at the neighborhood meeting. So this is not a brand-new issue that came up today. And again, no objection to pursuing, verifying and making sure going forward to BOCC, Natural Resources available to answer any questions. But again, I want the record to be clear, this is not the first time that this has come up.
David, just for the record, Audubon does list that there's an Eagle's Nest to the northeast of this property, but it's outside of the 660-foot buffer.
But it's
So
not
that's-
on, not on the property.
Right, so that is something that Mr. Semino's group would definitely need to coordinate with FWS or the like, so the condition that's in the conditions of approval is appropriate for that.
I have a question for Denise. So the MPUD is expired, correct? So the current zoning is AR, is that correct?
So that's not really how it works. It's just an MPUD with no entitlements.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's MPUD with no entitlements to MPUD.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't revert back to, it's not like PUDs, which were sunsetted. So if a PUD is expired, then it reverts to what the district was prior to it being PUD.
Okay.
MPUDs are not set up like that.
Okay,
But the
thank you.
one thing we need to keep in mind is that the current future land use is Res 24.
Right.
So they could come in and ask for any multifamily district that complies with the Res 24. And I think the applicant said they were actually, in the number of units proposed, having a significant reduction in density from what would otherwise be allowed in the Res 24
Yeah.
blue category. Right. And they could have come in here and asked for an MPUD for, or is this in the urban service area or outside the urban service area?
It's in the urban service area.
All right, so in the urban service area, there's no height limitation. They could have come in here and asked for a high-rise apartment building on the same site under Res 24. Not saying that, from a business perspective, that might be the right or wrong place, but they could have done that.
And there's actually hotels on 19 that, you know, the back end are just single-family homes too, so I've seen that. Could be worse.
Okay, anything else up here? With that, I'll look for a motion.
So if we move for approval, do we need to mention that we recommend an environmental person be present for the BCC meeting to?
Since it's not really an additional condition, I don't think you need to. I think staff has gotten the message on that issue.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sorry, I apologize, it's just,
I just want to make a very quick comment.
Sir, you'll have an opportunity to make any comment you want to the Board of County Commissioners. This matter still has to go to the Board of County Commissioners at a public hearing, so any additional comments you have, you can make to the Board of County Commissioners.
We're a recommending body to the Board of County Commissioners.
Have no limit to their comments, and we did.
they had a rebuttal period as the applicant, the way, the procedures that were outlined at the beginning, they had 5 minutes, and they held some of their time
But
back
if you
from the
think they
original.
said anything incorrect, you can bring it up to the Board of County Commissioners.
Well, you know, that's a pass, that's a punt.
Mr. Chair, if it's all right, I'd indulge the gentleman if he wants to come up. I'm happy to ask him a question so that he can have another minute to.
Just make sure you understand that the applicant then has a chance to
Correct,
rebut
I understand.
whatever he says, if you want to bring him up again.
Do you have a question?
Sure. Because he never answered my first question.
Can I, well,
Yeah,
I answered your question.
Go ahead, I have a question for you.
Am I invited?
You need to come to the podium.
Yes, I'm inviting you because I need to ask you a question.
What can I say? No, the only thing I want to,
He's going to ask you a question.
This will be very quick.
He's going to ask you a question.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
And you can think about the response.
Sir, you need to stay at the podium.
He can't hear.
Well, I will go back.
Okay.
It sounded like there's probably going to be a motion to recommend approval of the development to the Board of County Commissioners. Is there some reason in the comprehensive plan or the land development code that this should not be approved?
Okay. My understanding, and remember, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a partially retired doctor, okay? We came up here not as experts, but thinking in terms of the impact on our community, which is a zoned agricultural, which it was before. Miller brought up his rezoning request that we did not, as Linda Bell so amply discussed, we did not challenge because we did not anticipate anything more than a decent-looking Miller-like mobile park, because Miller builds very nice parks, okay? And I was on boards with Miller when I was a health officer. He's a stellar gentleman. This is not about Miller. However, I want to confirm what Scott said. I saw right behind my property for 2 weeks or so, thinking that whoever was doing it had permission to do it. I mean, I wasn't going to question it. Come in with their bulldozers and chop down trees
Sir,
and
the
do a lot
question
of
that was
brush
posed
stuff.
to you
Okay,
was-
so I'm just confirming what he told you, so you don't
But
think
we're not
he's-
rehashing testimony. The question that was
Okay,
posed to you was
now to your
the basis
question.
in the comp plan and the land
All
development
right,
code.
the only way I can answer that question, as I said, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not an expert on the codes, but my understanding is Pasco County, when someone builds something in Pasco County, they're supposed to respect the character of the community that it's in. This does not respect the character of the community that it's in, and that's all I'm going to say.
So so how is that the case? The future land use designation on the property is residential 24 units to the acre.
Okay, well, this
So
is
how does that
now
not
zoned
respect the
agricultural,
character?
you tell me.
So your area is zoned agricultural, but the land we're discussing right here has a future, but has a future land, it has a future land use of 24 units per acre. So, and that was already passed as part of the comprehensive plan years ago.
Okay, my only final comment, and I really don't want to prolong this, you guys vote how you want to, but this is not our community. 250 units, bringing in 1,000 people, with a wall that will deteriorate over a few years, falling back on the homeowner associations. If this is the kind of community you want to put in the Highlands, fine. I mean, we'll live with it. Hopefully, you'll respect some very reasonable conditions which involve traffic, flooding, buffer zones, people not peeking into our properties from high rises. But this is your bailiwick, not mine.
Well,
And I thank
sir,
you for the
think-
opportunity.
I mean, again, on those points, I think a lot of those points are going to be addressed or are addressed with this MPUD. They're providing a buffer. They're limited in height. I think there's a 35-foot height limitation. The traffic, they're taking care of the traffic. They're going to be required to take care of stormwater in all their permitting efforts. So it's not that they're not going to be required to do anything. They're not getting a free pass to go out there and build what they want. But just, you guys need to understand the process. And again, it comes down to a property rights issue in some form or fashion for that current property owner as well. I mean, he's entitled to have something there, just like the person that developed your property had a right to develop your property into something. So
The thing I see is we're asking for 250 platted townhomes. So figure somewhere between 2 and 3 people live in
Yeah,
each
4, up
townhome.
to
So if
4.
I give the maximum 3, it's 750 permanent residents. These are properties that will be under fee simple ownership when it's done. Whereas the prior development was an RV park with 499 spaces of transient residents.
This would have been an upscale park. That's what
Well,
Miller told us.
It might have, and I can think of further south on 19, quite a few RV parks that now have a lot of
It starts that
permanent
way.
to semi-permanent residents that maybe aren't the county's most stellar residents, but
And if you had 3 residents per RV,
I mean,
that's 1,500
2 mobile parks were turned down by you guys that tried to infringe in our community because of the quality of those parks. They were low-quality parks. No, I'm not defending Miller, but I'm telling you, his presentation to us showed the kind of parks he runs, which are very, very upscale, nice parks. And as Linda Bell said, we didn't have too much of a problem with that. But as I said, I don't want to prolong that.
Yeah.
You see what they're building here. If you feel that's appropriate, then you vote the way you want to with the appropriate conditions, I hope. And then we go from there. Look, we'll live with it. I've been in that home 30
And I mean,
years.
again, I know the point's already been driven home, but there's a lot more that could have been asked for.
Well, maybe so. Okay, maybe so. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, I just have one more question for the staff or the applicant. On the issue of buffering, in condition 10, it talks about a 6-foot privacy fence. Can somebody elaborate what that means? Does that mean opaque? Does that mean, like, I don't know what kind of fence.
You don't get much privacy with one that's not opaque.
Well, I just want to make sure, for the record, what the intent is when we use the term privacy. What does that mean? Does that mean it's fully opaque? Does it mean?
Can record again for the record. Yes, it means opaque.
Okay.
So it's likely PVC or wood?
Some type of material like that, yes.
Okay.
All right.
It's actually in the code, so if you look at the code, it tells them exactly what the material has to be and what it cannot be. Thank you, and I'm sorry for interrupting.
I'll ask staff, is that a defined term in the code? Privacy fence?
Yes, it is.
He's asking staff,
I'm
sir,
asking
please.
Denise or William if they know the answer to that question.
So I would prefer to defer to Brad Tippin on this item, as he is the person who's
He's
delegated
Brad.
authority for that section.
Brad Tippin. When we look at buffers and fences within buffers as part of the 6-foot screening, they are required to be opaque by the code.
Is there any further specification on type of material?
Not wood, but it can be block, it can be PVC,
So just not wood?
yes.
More chain link,
It-
it can be from 6 to 8 foot. I'm just trying to help.
Well, the
Yeah,
only reason.
just let the staff
The only
answer,
reason I'm
please.
asking this question is,
Well,
if it's not a defined term, I'm just wondering why we're not using opaque.
I'm
or-
quickly checking Appendix A right now for
Okay.
you, David. And no, I do not see privacy fence as a defined term in Appendix A of the LDC.
Can we change that word privacy to opaque in
If
somebody's
that would
motion?
help clarify, I have no objection
Does
to
the
that.
applicant object to that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, well, whoever's making it, well, first of all, let the applicant, do you have any additional rebuttal?
The only one brief point that I would make is, notwithstanding the fact that those properties to the east are zoned agricultural, they do carry a future land use category of Res 6.
6.
And we are consistent with that.
So, whoever's making the motion, if you could do it, if you're going to recommend approval, if you could do it with a change to condition 10, changing the term privacy to opaque.
I will make the motion to approve with the changing condition 10 from privacy fence to opaque fence.
And I will second that motion.
Okay. So motion and a second. Any other further discussion?
Yeah. I just want to say, the owner, the developer, one of the elements in our comprehensive plan is that we recognize property rights. And I look at what this development could be with the current future land use category and what the applicant has proposed, and we're looking at densities that are in line with the Res 6 future land use category when they could have been Res 24 by any other applicant. And I will very frankly tell the residents, this isn't the first time I've seen this property. Somebody came in my office a little more than a year ago and wanted to zone this to industrial. So I think it's a much better proposal for your area. And I'm not insensitive to your AR zoning district. I live on AR zoned property too, and I have chickens. Maybe before the end of the year, I'll have some piglets. But, so I'm not insensitive to that. But I look at what this could be and what the proposal is, And I find that far more compatible with your neighborhood than what the person that came into my office and wanted to rezone this into an MPUD for industry, which could provide a lot more light intrusion, noise intrusion, possible pollution issues. And I want to assure you all, because I work with this staff day in and day out, these people are going to have this development examined from one end to the other with a rigor, and I think Mr. Simoneau can attest to this, in quite rigorous fashion. And they're not just going to submit one plan and get a permit in a couple of weeks. This is going to go back and forth for probably a year with the staff before this is all hammered out, and with the Southwest Florida Water Management District and with the DEP over the utilities. There's going to be a lot of eyes that look at this thing. So I want to assure you that they're just not going to come in and mow everything down and kill every endangered species that may or may not be on the property and cause all kinds of noise, light pollution, and the other things. This is going to be looked at, so that's why I'll be voting to approve.
That's why our laws are written that way, to protect against that. They're very specifically written to protect the people that border that property for those reasons. So, and they won't be able to circumvent those laws. So.
Anything else? Okay, there's a motion and a second. With no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's the last item on the agenda.
I think it is.
It is.
A motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Pasco County waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.
The average shelter return to owner rate for cats is less than 2%. That means if you bring a community cat to our shelter, it's not likely they'll end up being returned to their caregivers. Cats in our communities often have one or more caregivers, and they usually hang out in their home area. The best thing to do for these cats is to leave them be. Share that message and you too can help battle pet overpopulation.
If you're concerned the kittens have really been orphaned, meaning they haven't been moved, or you're sure mom hasn't been back in at least 8 consecutive hours, then you can step in and care for the kittens. Animal Services offers resources on our website about kitten fostering, spay and neuter services, trap rentals, and vaccinations. Whether you have a single community cat or a bunch of kitties, we encourage you to contact us at 813-929-1212 or through our website for more information on our SNP, Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release program. This means healthier and fewer community cats in your neighborhood. Healthier because we can prevent diseases like rabies, and fewer because all of the cats that we treat are also spayed and neutered. Cats are eligible for the program at 8 weeks old. Pasco County is a strong and growing community, and through our combined efforts, we can help save lives with 3 simple words. Leave them be.
Pasco County, the fastest growing county in the Tampa Bay area. The Pasco Board of County Commissioners is a high-performing organization with 2,700 employees representing 57 lines of business, serving nearly 600,000 people over 740 square miles, and we're always looking for talented people to join our team. This is your opportunity to help make your community a better place to live, work, and play. If you're ready to be part of a great success story, consider a career with Pasco County Government, recently recognized as a top workplace for 2021. Opportunities include careers in utilities, public works, traffic operations, solid waste, animal services, public transportation, information technology, libraries, parks, human services, recreation and natural resources, administration, senior services, fire rescue, 911, fleet, building construction services, code enforcement, planning, environmental science, and so much more. Plus, our benefits package is tough to beat. We offer employee wellness centers, health, vision, and dental benefits, paid holidays, and tuition reimbursement, just to name a few. We are local government reimagined. We're progressive, innovative, and in many areas, Pasco County is leading the way. Want to learn more about what we do and how you can be part of it? Visit mypasco.net and click on Job and Volunteer Opportunities. Our team is more than 2,700 strong. Your neighbors, friends, and even family members. Come join Pasco County and make a difference every day.
So where are you guys going on vacation?
part of the game. Black horse. Badass.
Has anybody seen Sam? What? Sam!
It doesn't have to end like this.
And there are ways to develop to also that go hand in hand with preservation. So like if that whole, like if you wanted to put a building and you excavated the whole foundation that was going to be taken out, cool. Like we actually potentially know more now than we would have if there was no building, which doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be digging up everything, but if it's going to get destroyed, that would be a good way. Might be a more appropriate way to go about it is actually excavating scientifically the site instead of coming in with backhoes where you end up with a giant pile of fill. So there are definitely ways to balance the two, construction and moving forward and also preserving the past. So there are lots of good examples. It takes groups like this and work like this where people are talking and working together and and holding people accountable and saying like no, this is what needs to happen. If you want to do this, this is what we're going to need you to do before that.
Go Pasco and Pasco County Libraries are perfect partners, perfect place to buy your bus pass. I'm very excited to introduce our newest library where you could buy bus passes. We listened to your request, and you can now buy your bus passes at the downtown Newport Richey Library.
It's very convenient to come from where I live to the library to pick up a bus pass. Before I would have to use 2 buses, and now I can use 1.
The Newport Richey Public Library acts as an information hub to the entire West Pasco community. We are thrilled to be able to offer the Go Pasco bus passes as an additional service for our community.
The bus passes that you could buy at the downtown Newport Richey Library are 31-day, regular and reduced, and the 20 ride. And don't forget, you can get your day passes on the bus. The partnership between Go Pasco and the Newport Richey Library downtown is a great, great partnership. We've wanted this for many years.
I just love Go Pasco.
Find your way to Pasco County Libraries with Go Pasco at gopasco.com.